Welcome to the Greater Harlem Business Conference and our segment on the Payroll Protection Program, or as it's popularly known, PPP. I am Michael Flanagan, Director of the Caribbean Research Center at Medgar College and a Harlem Week board member. I am joined by two distinguished members from the financial services industry for this discussion. Um, we have the president of Carver Federal Savings Bank, Michael Pugh, and Donald Martini, senior vice president and SBA lending manager with Citibank. Welcome, gentlemen. It's a pleasure to have you today. Thank you for spending the time with us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So, PPP has been in the news, particularly since the pandemic, COVID-19 arose, and wanted to get your experience in administering this program. What have been your experiences in ensuring that this program did what it was supposed to do? We can start with Michael first and then go to Don.
Sure. So let me first just say it's a pleasure to be here. And Don, good to see you. So our experiences with rolling out the program, Carver Federal Savings Bank, we've been around for 72 years. We are a minority deposit institution, one of America's few standing Black-owned, Black-managed financial institutions, and also designated by the United States Treasury as a community development financial institution. So what that basically means for us is 80 cents of every dollar we have on deposit gets reinvested in the communities we serve. That context is important because it really speaks to where our efforts and energy have been spent in terms of the Paycheck Protection Program. When we launched this program with our small but mighty team, it was really centered on supporting small business entrepreneurs that are in our local footprint. We have 7 branches, 4 in Brooklyn, 1 in Queens, and 2 in the Harlem community. So the SBA really considers small businesses to be 500 or less employees. While we certainly acknowledge that, our focus was really trying to hone in on nonprofit organizations within our local footprint, and really those micro small businesses, and those businesses with 75 or less employees. We saw that as a need because of the communities that we serve have a high concentration of minority owned entrepreneurs, women-owned entrepreneurs, and typically within that 75 or less footprint. Through our efforts, we were able to provide access in terms of capital of more than $35 million and help with the preservation of more than 3,400 jobs out there. But this program itself was bigger, frankly, than just the dollars and the jobs. We also touched hundreds more in terms of small businesses that frankly just needed advice, someone from a financial services side to help them think about response and survival in relation to this whole pandemic and the impact of it. So I'll pause there.
And Don, can you give us your response to that question?
Thank you, Dr. Flanagan. And again, Michael, it was a pleasure. Citi we stand shoulder to shoulder with what Carver and the rest of the lending community has done in responding to the pandemic. Framers of the CARES Act, which created PPP, didn't, I don't think, imagine that this would be going on as long as it has. And the expectation of how the PPP program actually got rolled out, was really, I'm very proud to say, a Herculean effort here at Citi. We've done a little under $3.5 billion in small business loans throughout our footprint. And like Carver, our target has been those small businesses that meet SBA's definition and render themselves adversely impacted, or they really had some challenges trying to move forward with their business given the circumstances surrounding COVID. We, in our footprint, and of course, we're a New York-based bank, and 200 years ago, Mr. Hamilton was our founder, and we look in our own backyard to help our small business communities, and whether that's New York or Miami or Los Angeles or Chicago, the average loan size, as an example, for Citi was $118,000. Our job count is also similarly supportive in much the same way that Carver did. And again, the program has certainly allowed us to help those customers who normally couldn't get money in this kind of time, because their doors might have been temporarily closed. The pandemic literally shut down communities, and if you can't get to work, you still need to pay folks. And I think that strategy, our strategy, if I may say, was no small business left behind. That was our internal hashtag. And we're eager to see where this is going to go in the next round of relief. And hopefully even more programs that will support small business, so it will move us forward in this now challenging economy.
So your responses have definitely been illuminating, and one of the things I took away from that was that all the financial service industries have worked shoulder to shoulder, by your phrase, in addressing this issue. You touched on both yourself and Michael touched on the fact that you targeted small businesses of certain sizes, nonprofits. While doing this, were there any kind of lessons learned, best practices that you took away from this that you would want to share, particularly if this program gets a second life and continues?
Just to jump in and to share a comment, we did as an industry, and there were 5,500 lenders of all sizes and shapes and that sort of thing. Big companies like us, proud lenders like Carver, who have a long history of serving small business. I mean, we were able to do 14 years of SBA lending in just a couple of months as a community. That's how much volume passed through the SBA E-Trans system and the kind of relief that we provided. The lessons learned, truly in the midst of a national disaster, if you will, and while thank God this was not 9/11 or widespread natural disaster, it truly affected every American, every community. And I think one of the lessons that we learned is we can do it. And we can pull together, and I am always and have been for the last few months just stunned at the community that's been built so quickly in the financial and that challenge of meeting all of these concerns of our small businesses. I do believe we've all met squarely. We've learned how to underwrite quickly. We've relied on new financial technology, online portals to begin application processes. And in the midst of the fact that most folks are working from home or limited basis, certainly in the eligibility stages when they were doing their applications, they couldn't go to the office. And we're able to do this all remotely, which again is somewhat astonishing. But again, thankful for the technology to do it.
Sure.
Mike?
And I would say it's a great question. So when you think about the context of best practices and learnings, I'll start first with on the best practices side. We found that the importance of being able to be effective with this program was having the access to the customer in terms of relationship and touch. There was a significant number of customers that frankly, we had to walk them through step by step in terms of this process. And our mission has always been to ensure that we provide access and convenience, and that we understand that that means at times hand-holding with the customer every step of the way. Many of our customers were dealing with the impact of this pandemic in terms of thinking about whether or not they would be able to reopen and survive on the other side of it. Trying to get a sense of how long this was going to, we would be impacted. I don't think any of us would have anticipated the impact to be as long as it has been. So the hand-holding was very important. I would also say that while we understand systemically large financial institutions are extremely important to the overall circulation ecosystem of our nation and, frankly, the world. There's also an important space and place for community banks like us. The ability for a customer to be able to pick up the phone and call the CEO of the bank and to have access, especially if you are a small business, and particularly one of color, where you may not be certain what to do and how to address some of the critical needs for your business. There's a place at Carver that we were first responders in that respect, and we've taken great pride in that. I think the thing that we learned the most is that for many small businesses that may not have had reportable income or in the past hadn't had the real benefit of a financial advisor to help them think about documentation and planning, that's where we were able to step in with some level of support. But there are still a sizable number of small businesses, and particularly minority-owned businesses, that did not receive access in terms of the overall PPP program. In fact, there was a recent Cranes article that pointed out that roughly 7% of the small businesses in the Bronx that were Black-owned received the PPP access to PPP, 11.3% in Queens, and moderately higher, about 19.6% in Manhattan. So if you take a look at those statistics, what that tells you is that there's still a significant number of businesses that have to come up with a plan. We've got to figure out how we're going to support them, big financial institutions and small community banks like us. Otherwise, they won't have a chance to survive.
Thanks, Don and Mike, for the answers to those questions. Your answers raise so many issues that are actually very relevant. Access, just handling business being prepared in terms of their financial data, and then or getting that PPP funds out on a broader level. Given that to the background and that the impact, as you said, I think, Don, that the impact has been larger than was anticipated. What will, in your opinion, what will the forgiveness portal look like in light of pending legislation?
Well, I think, Dr. Flanagan, that's going to largely depend on the institution and what our resources are and what our communities and small businesses are asking for. At Citi, we're going to have multiple entry points. Most folks happily have access to a computer. You have to be in the 21st century. So we have a very robust online portal where folks will enter through in a secure fashion. And we've taken all the applications from SBA for forgiveness and systemically pulled them apart so that it's an easy process and folks can come back to it. It's like any kid going to school and going back to their lesson plan so they can go back and forth until they're ready to hit the magic submit button. And then, of course, we'll do our work on our side to review. I mean, the process is fairly straightforward. The business owner needs to come back with documentation to prove they used the money in the way they said they were going to use it, that they used it for payroll, that they used it for eligible fixed costs like utilities, interest on mortgages, your rent. And you choose the period, and we've got 60 days, all of us, every lender, although I think Citi and Carver and others will commit to doing that a whole lot faster. And then that decision, hopefully 100% forgiven, is sent to the SBA, and they've got up to 90 days to either agree with our support and decision of the forgiveness application, and then it gets back to the customer, and that decision is shared, and hopefully it's completely forgiven. And this is all done through a nice, easy electronic process, a DocuSign process. We all, I'm sure, are designing programs that are safe, that don't rely on folks to have to necessarily walk into a physical location unless they really need to. And we, of course, can do that through our branch system for those folks who ask for that specifically. But it's safe given the nature of the pandemic. it's a little easier to do it through a DocuSign process. So we're hopeful that will meet the needs of most of our customers, and then we'll make, of course, accommodations for those who don't. That's the expectation.
So before I close, question to both. When someone listens to this, is listening to this broadcast and what you're saying, how can they reach Citibank? How can they reach Carver? What is the number they call? Is there an email if they're interested in getting information regarding these programs?
So for Carver, it's easy to remember, carverbank.com. We invite you to go to our website. And again, that's carverbank.com. Also, we have a dedicated customer service line. That telephone number is 718-230-2900. Again, 718-230-2900. That customer service line is available with qualified colleagues to answer any questions that customers or the community might have regarding the Paycheck Protection Program. To Don's point earlier, we have focused heavily through technology and representatives that are on standby to make sure we get our customers through this forgiveness process and take care of them.
And I would add to Mike's comments, the same thing, where if folks want to learn more, please do go to citi.com. There's a whole forgiveness website embedded in there, just a couple of keystrokes in. I would also advise any business owner, any entrepreneur out there to also look into SBA.gov or treasury.gov/cares, and that'll also get you the most up-to-date information. It might be a little drier than what Carver and Citi are putting up on our web, a little less color, but it will have the information in a straightforward fashion that might be a helpful resource. I'd also say to any small business owner, as they are thinking about their forgiveness app, be patient. There's new legislation that's being discussed in Washington by Democrats and Republicans in the House and the Senate that may, we all hope, make it to the president's desk for his signature to provide additional relief. Some of that legislation includes a new forgiveness process for loans under $150,000, and that seems to enjoy a fair amount of support. So you have time, business owner, please wait. Wait until the month is over, that the portals are functioning properly throughout the system, if you will, and you can take advantage of anything new that's coming out of Washington that might impact your PPP loan or anything that may in fact be coming in form of a new program. Be patient and stay healthy, as always that's been our advice in the last few months for sure.
So I want to thank you both, Don and Michael, for very, very valuable information that you've shared this morning. And, we look forward to future conversations on this very timely topic. Needless to say, reopening of small businesses, their actual survival is so very dependent on this. So once again, thanks, and all the best during this time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Take care.
Take care.
All right, good. Got it.
Okay.
All right.
Don, you still there?
I am.
Yeah, Don's here.
Okay. Oh, we needed, was it Michael?
Did we lose Michael?
Yeah.
Yeah, Michael dropped off.
Yeah.
What was Michael doing the recording, the other piece?
It was Michael, yeah, we needed to do that. Yeah. So Don, we're complete, Don.
Okay. Oh, there's Marco.
Thanks. Yeah.
Marco, you there? Oh, Michael's back. Okay, we got you back.
Okay,
Yeah.
Mike.
Fast fingers there.
Okay, good.
All right.
All right. So, okay, so you guys are done. You guys are done.
Yeah, I'm done, right?
Right, yep.
We're out. Okay, good.
Thank you, gentlemen.
For sure. Thank you.
Thanks again, Don.
Thank you, Don. Take care.
Let me leave the studio.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm out of this part too. I'm in the background in this part too.
Okay, so Michael, do you know what we need from you?
I have no idea.
Okay, so well, you're singing 2 songs, and
you know, and then the little interpretive dance as well.
Right. We were able to pull it together, so I think I'm okay.
So this is your remarks that will be played as a part of the Congressman Rangel Systemic Racism and Economic Justice Summit.
Okay.
All right. So
okay, so are you prepared to do, so I'm gonna drop you out, Marco. Okay, so are you prepared for that? Are you good?
So if I've had all of 30 minutes to prepare, there might be a couple of takes.
Okay.
I think we could probably get it right the first time, but
okay. Well, this is going out to the editor after this, so
okay.
Have
all
at
right.
it. You're good. Okay, so I'm gonna drop out. This will bring you full screen. Just do like a 5-second countdown in your head, and then begin. Okay.
Thank
All
you.
right. And then I'll pop back in as necessary.
Okay. Thank you for joining Congressman Rangel's Systemic Racism and Social Justice Summit. This summit is a very important one, particularly at this time in our nation, and certainly within greater New York City, as we are fighting to address a number of issues tied to inequality that have systemically held back many people from being able to live out their full potential. As you think about some of the key issues that have been discussed today, the responsibility with our youth is extremely important, and small business entrepreneurship is extremely important in terms of relevance and systemic improvement in our economy. Our small businesses and our youth will need continued education and support of us all in order to ensure that we grow as a nation and ensure that our neighborhoods, block by block, remain strong. E-commerce, as an example, will be a critical part of what we will have to think about for many of our small businesses on the other side of the pandemic. We believe that this is important as you think about the social impact of education, because in order for you to reach customers and to remain competitive, the ability to have e-commerce will be extremely important. It's also important that as we talk to our youth and we think about our future, we understand the circulation of dollars. I invite you all to participate in an exercise that I've often shared with friends and as I've participated in financial education seminars. And that exercise is to take a look in your cabinets and your closet. Find 3 things that you are a frequent purchaser of. And of those 3 things, identify if those items are part of a company that's publicly traded. If so, go online and find out how much the stock is being traded for, and purchase at least 1 share of the stock. So instead of being a major consumer of a good, participate in the ownership. This is an example of an exercise that will help you to better understand the flow and circulation of money. Now, many of us might say, well, we're not frankly in a position to own stock or have the financial wherewithal to understand how to do it. What I would submit to you is that this is a time more important than ever to understand that through participation and ownership, you have a greater voice in our community. As we think about reforming criminal justice, I would also add to you that we must be active participants in terms of voting. The process of voting is extremely important because your voice and your visibility is only recognized when you participate in voting and choosing your elected officials. This gives you an opportunity to systemically change the criminal justice system and the disparity in terms of incarceration of minorities. We invite you, and it is my plea to all of you that you become active and you become passionate about the process of voting. And last, I leave you with the thought that McKinsey researchers indicated 42% of minority-owned small businesses reported that obtaining credit was becoming more difficult as we think about this COVID-19 pandemic and the impact of it. The legacy of racial division has often been tied to discriminatory practices with housing, affordable quality healthcare, the persistence of underemployment and unemployment. Well, it is very important that we support our small businesses, that we become very passionate and focused about home ownership and education. 21 out of 50 states in the US today require personal finance as a core curriculum for our youth. New York is one of those 21 states that requires it. Personal finance and the understanding of financial literacy is extremely important as we fight this issue of the racial divide, as we strive to get people of color back into a state of home ownership and back into a state of, again, being able to save for their financial future. And we believe that Carver Federal Savings Bank as a community bank is here to help you with that. We hope that you found great reward out of participating in this forum, and thank you for your support of Harlem Week.
Hey, this is Clayton Banks, CEO of Silicon Harlem, also an executive board member for the Greater Harlem Chamber of Commerce. So excited about Harlem Week. And today, yes, right now, we're getting ready to talk about cybersecurity. It impacts all of us. I don't care if you're a small business, a big business, if you are a senior or a child, cybersecurity is critical to know about. Today, we're going to share some insights on that. And as a executive board member for the Chamber and CEO of Silicon Harlem and leading technology for both, it's a pleasure to be a part of this right now and to introduce one of the great servants in our county. This is coming right out of the District Attorney's of New York County's office. And my friend, the great Ken Kearns, about to celebrate 16 years serving in the District Attorney's office. I'm so proud to introduce my good friend, one of the great minds and great proponents of keeping people safe in our New York County, the great Ken Kearns.
Good afternoon. My name is Ken Kern. I serve as the Chief Information Officer at the Manhattan District Attorney's Office. On behalf of District Attorney Cyrus R. Vance, thank you for the opportunity to speak to you today about cybersecurity challenges and opportunities. I want to begin my remarks by extending my deepest appreciation to several individuals, including Clayton Banks, Dr. Vincent Boudreau, Lloyd Williams, as well as Citibank. Cybersecurity, it's a topic of conversation that is so critical to have. And when we think about what are we doing in our local community, in New York City, New York State, worldwide, often the problem seems so overwhelming and often encourages people to look away and perhaps do nothing. And I want to emphasize right at the beginning that the challenges are immense, but there are opportunities in terms of cybersecurity that are practical, immediate, and if you implement them, can increase your cybersecurity posture, the strength that you have as an organization, as an individual, immensely. So I'm going to start by talking a little bit about the challenges. In 2020, what we know is that cyber attacks on small businesses are most commonly viruses. They also include phishing attacks, those attacks which come in often via an email, seemingly harmless, and end up, if an individual clicks on that link, perhaps embedding malware into the system unknowingly and compromising that system. When we look at some of the challenges in 2020 for small businesses, in 2019, some of the data we saw, the challenges include the need for more resources, the need to protect our data very, very well. The measures to go ahead and actually correct some of those data safety issues include limiting employees' access to data or simply directing it so that an individual employee doesn't have access to everything, but simply what they would need to do their work. Those measures include encrypting data, using stronger passwords, not just simple ones that we repeat, but ones that actually can help us protect not only ourselves, but the entity that we work for. Now, you think globally, the bottom line is the attacks are happening all around the world. They're happening in region after region, and cyber criminals are immensely bright. They're opportunists. And what they do is they look just like individuals who are trying to get into a home. They look for a door that's been left open. Cybersecurity is no different. It's just networks that instead of your back door of your house, your network is your back door of your business. And today's conversation with you is to emphasize that we need to do more. The problems are very real, but there are ways in which we can actually go ahead and address some of these very complex attacks that are continuing to hit us in 2020. Now, the attacks that are happening, you very well know, include something known as malware attacks. And these malware attacks have been going on for years. Something that we started to see over the last 3 or so years that really has ramped up includes this ransomware attack, where an attacker, a cybersecurity attacker, will go ahead and gain control of your network, lock it down, preventing you from being able to access your own data, and then reaching out to you and demanding payment in order to unlock your own data. Now, that's problematic for individuals themselves. But what we've noticed in the cybersecurity field is that these attacks also happened against cities, municipalities, states. And I want to share a few of those with you. The city of Atlanta went through a really tough experience in terms of cybersecurity, in which its network, those systems that allowed the city to function, were compromised by a ransomware attack. Again, locked down, put in a posture where those employees who work for the city of Atlanta were unable to gain access to data that they needed to help the citizens in Atlanta. But it wasn't just Atlanta. The 911 system, that lifeline between citizens and their government. In Baltimore, we saw a ransomware attack there that compromised the 911 system. So can you imagine your worst nightmare, the need to reach out to get medical assistance, to get it quickly, all of a sudden, because of a cyber attack, that was compromised. And Baltimore really went through a rough patch for about 48 hours where its system was compromised, and they have knowingly shared some of their experiences in order for other cities to put those cities in a position where they're stronger. I wish it ended there. We turn to the state of Texas, where 22 Texas towns, counties, there are 254 counties in Texas. 22 of them were compromised by attack that essentially hobbled their ability to do business. But perhaps the one that was one of the most problematic happened in the state of Louisiana. Louisiana's school system was had a ransomware attack. And when that occurred, the governor of Louisiana called for a cybersecurity state of emergency. It meant he was calling upon the resources of state agencies that he had control over, calling in an emergency, trying to address it. And it is believed to have been the first time that there was ever a state of emergency that was classified as a cybersecurity one. My worry is that may be the first of many, unless we all do more to protect ourselves from the attackers who are trying to hit not only individuals, not only businesses, but also governments. And so these ransomware attacks have continued 2018, 2019, 2020. Keep an eye on them as you're reading and keeping up with your cybersecurity awareness, whether you run a business or that you're trying to protect your associations, your churches. Really critical. Malware attacks that we continue to see happening via email. One thing about the malware attacks that we know is they sometimes move along just like the seasons. And malware can often go quiet or dark, meaning an attack will happen in January, and all of a sudden, the attack sort of goes dormant for a while, then comes back months later. So experts think it's under control, and all of a sudden, it's not. And we saw that happen just in July of this year, where a malware and attack that was thought to have gone dormant, all of a sudden came back. When you're thinking about malware and ransomware, very complex business decisions are being made. What should a business do if they are faced with a demand to unlock their business? As the clock is ticking, the need for them, their analysis, I need to get to my data. My customers I need access to what I need to do to make my business thrive. Do I pay the ransomware? From a law enforcement perspective, I encourage you not to. The most important thing that you would need to do is to immediately inform your law enforcement community so that we can try to address this and assist you. You can reach out to the Manhattan District Attorney's Office, and our Cybercrime and Identity Theft Bureau is here to assist you, along with our tremendous partners with the New York Police Department, as well as our federal partners. But not every business chooses not to pay. Many make the business decision to go ahead and pay, even when law enforcement recognizes and advises not to. The attacks on our most vulnerable in society, including elderly healthcare providers that are impacted, where data breaches of 47,000 elderly individuals all of a sudden are compromised, then sold on the dark web and moved, putting those individuals and their personal identifying information out there where it shouldn't be, where their privacy needs to be protected. So quite a terrible thing when anything happens to our most vulnerable in society, and that trend line is continuing, regretfully. Let's turn a little bit to some optimism. What does New York City do to address this? Well, the Manhattan District Attorney's Office, along with New York Police Department, Global Cyber Alliance, the Center for Internet Security, and the New York Cyber Command, bonded together to create an entity to protect New York City itself. It was an act which seems very commonsensical. We bring together experts from across the sectors in New York City and share relevant threat analysis, real-time threat analysis, number one. Number two, we train together to address cybersecurity. We go to boot camps, we put our professionals together, and we make sure that they're training to combat these challenges. And number three, we have an all-volunteer army, and a group of volunteers who, if a particular sector was compromised, just like we saw in the United Kingdom with the healthcare industry, where their sector was deeply compromised in the summer of 2018. There are other sectors that can come in and are trained and ready to aid. And that's the New York City Cyber Critical Services and Infrastructure. Launched with an op-ed in the Wall Street Journal, launching a cyber brigade, as the district attorney says, hearkening back to the old fire brigades, where your neighbor assisted neighbor when there was a fire. The same thing is a modern day cyber brigade. If you, your business are affected, our neighbors, trained and ready to roll, come and assist. The mission is really focused on what do we do to protect critical infrastructure across sectors: telecommunications, finance, energy, water, emergency responses. There are 17 different sectors. It's essentially a wonderful public and private partnership about cybersecurity. And I would welcome any of you who are seeing this to reach out to me to learn more about it and opportunities for you to join and participate. Right now, we have over 130 members, 54 organizations, and 13 sectors. They include some of the names that are listed here, from JetBlue, New York City Environmental Protection, IBM. They also include the Greater Harlem Chamber of Commerce, Silicon Harlem, those partners that have been so important for our office, the Manhattan District Attorney's Office, in thinking about and preparing for cyber attacks, strategies, and teamwork and partnership. The sectors are varied. The opportunity to join, you will inevitably be one of these. I highlight water. 1.1 billion gallons of water come into New York City every day. They come via natural gravity from the north, but are aided by a complex system of computers and networks, all of which have to be at a state of the highest degree of cybersecurity. And we are proud that New York City Department of Environmental Protection is one of the leading organizations, a part of New York City CCSI, and has really educated us all and helped us to really appreciate not only what's happening in its sector, but giving us tools and techniques to apply in our own sectors. I talked about the three things that New York City Cyber Critical Services and Infrastructure does: share real-time information, train together, and serve as an all-volunteer army when time requires, when the opportunity is needed. We train jointly, taking cyber professionals, taking them on the road, putting them into a forum where they get real-time challenges, and then learning, what do we do? What do we take back home to protect New York City? This is the district attorney's vision. How do we locally, from the grassroots, protect ourselves? This is part of his vision. I want to now turn to a second opportunity. So if you think of New York City Cyber Critical Services and Infrastructure as a local initiative, that partnership is designed to protect New York City. Global Cyber Alliance was founded years before, in September of 2015, with really the same logic, which is thinking globally. How do we address global cybersecurity problems across sectors and across nations? And GCA was founded by the Manhattan District Attorney's Office, the City of London Police, and the Center for Internet Security. It's headquartered here in New York, London, and Brussels. It is designed to focus on systemic cyber risk and provide practical ways to enhance your cybersecurity. Currently, GCA has over 275 partners across 18 sectors, 32 countries. Many of the partners listed on the screen for you come with their ideas, with their personnel, with their vision of not only how to protect their own business, but not only how to protect their own sector, but how do they think globally as a global citizen so that we're all better protected. And that's the vision of GCA, founded by the district attorney. Once again, sectors are 17, a tremendous board of directors led currently by Scott Charney of Microsoft, a very, obviously a leading figure within cybersecurity. When Global Cyber Alliance first met and the leaders of GCA were thinking about, well, what do we do? What was immediately shared by members of GCA was focus on phishing. And it was a little bit surprising because it's such a commonplace problem. Perhaps the idea was, is there something more we could be doing? Something, and the answer was no. Focus on the basics. Focus on that which is causing the most problems for businesses, individuals, and that is going to be on phishing. So GCA immediately jumped in and said, what do we do? You have to think just like someone who is trying to address a problem in any business. What's the solution? Give me a toolkit and make it work. And that's what GCA has done. It focused on DMARC, which is email compromising, 4 different tools, 1 for email, 1 for websites, which is Quad 9. Number 3 is a toolkit for small businesses, which is what I'm going to focus on today. And finally, a toolkit for elections. Couldn't be more timely. The need to make sure that our democratic posture is protected so that everybody's voices is counted in an election. So these tools are all available on globalcyberalliance.org, the website. The wonderful thing about GCA is that it's free of charge. You can get any of these tools, and as a nonprofit organization, GCA has made its mission crystal clear. It's going to provide tools free of charge, no barrier based on the ability to pay. And so you can go to the website, globalcyberalliance.org, download any of these toolkits, and immediately put yourself in a better posture from the get-go. There are videos that accompany all of these toolkits. So you can put it up on your laptop, hit the video, and it walks you through. If you need additional assistance, GCA is available to assist you with that. And I'm so proud that that Global Cyber Alliance, the Manhattan District Attorney's Office, when the toolkit for small business was announced, it was announced with Lloyd Williams and the Greater Harlem Chamber of Commerce. That's where it was launched. That's been our focus. And I thank Mr. Williams for his vision as it relates to the need for this toolkit and to continuously build it up and make it available, make it known so people can go to the website and get this enormous set of cybersecurity tools. On the website, you can get information on DMARC. Again, that's on how to protect yourself via email. One wonderful quote that came from the Majesty's Revenue and Customs in the United Kingdom, the IRS of the UK, was that when they used DMARC, the quote is, in 1 year, we stopped 300 million phishing emails that were fraudulently using our email address. So if we can do it, anyone can. GCA's DMARC tool is available in 18 languages. So again, no cost and languages that are available to meet any of your businesses, but also your clientele, which are going to be international in nature. Quad 9 is about protecting your website and about protecting your business from websites that are problematic, so that if you're going to a website, how is it that the ecosystem is better protected? And you can learn more about Quad 9 and the protections there. But what it's done is pretty amazing. It blocks a minimum of 60 million malicious events every day. That's tremendous. So you think, what has GCA accomplished? Every day, there are blocks on 60 million malicious attacks that but for GCA and Quad 9 wouldn't be happening. But here's the one I want to spend the most time on, the Cybersecurity Toolkit. The toolkit provides small businesses with easily deployable resources to mitigate cyber risks. The toolkit includes basic training videos, the Quad 9 and DMARC toolkits, McScrappy tool for evaluating visited websites. There's a vulnerability scanner, software patch management solution, antivirus recommendations. And if you were to deploy all of those tools in that toolkit, you would immediately increase your cybersecurity strength by 85%. So that's what the metrics show. So I encourage you to follow this toolkit to the letter. Click on the video, and if you haven't done so already, please implement all these tools. And you can never think about whether this is, frankly, an option. For all of us, whether we're protecting ourselves, our business, our place of faith, you have to do it. Because not only is your business at risk, but your customers are at risk, their data is at risk. And that's really important for us to, as a group, to make sure that we're all solidifying and making sure our protections are in the best place. You can go to GCA community forums, participate, and learn about cybersecurity. As we're all having to work from home, GCA immediately put out advisories and tips on how to protect yourself from working at home. So please don't miss the opportunity to go to the website, globalcyberalliance.org, and learn about that. Because right now, you may be watching this video from home. And when the event is done, I hope that one of the many things that you do is go here and learn about protecting your business that's operating currently at home. I also encourage you and welcome you to a DMARC bootcamp going to be held September 15th, 2020. Again, a way for you in your business to immediately go ahead and figure out what practical new steps you can use to protect your environment and your personal identification information and the data that belongs to your customers. It has truly been an honor to speak with you today. And I'm very grateful for the partnership with the Greater Harlem Chamber of Commerce. I welcome the opportunity to speak with you again. To Mr. Williams, I thank you so much. To Mr. Banks, I could not have imagined a better partner than you, Mr. Williams, Dr. Boudreau. Thank you for everything that you've done to assist our office. And I wish each of you the very best going forward. My information is available. Contact me anytime. On behalf of District Attorney Cyrus R. Vance Jr., I wish you the very best.